Blake, thank you for that. 5. Do you think Warhorse is Bethesda's biggest competition? I can't read. Also, I just can't get into Oblivion Remaster, might be because it feels so out of date. Yeah, I mean, it's unapologetic in being like a remake of the original, bugs and all. I mean, people were begging for them to keep the bugs, which is a wild thing to happen, but that's because, Bethesda's known for bugs. I don't think it's surprising that you're struggling with it. I think a lot of people did, but do I think Warhorse is Bethesda's biggest competition? I guess it depends on how you define competition. Like, do I think that their games are taking sales away from Bethesda games? Not really. I think that they are in their own kind of lane. Warhorse, their games are more hardcore, I think. Like, I think the way, as a biased fan, because I love KCD, and as you guys know, I don't like the direction Bethesda has gone recently. I would describe Warhorse games as like a filet mignon, as a lean filet, a ribeye. It's got substance. There's a lot there. And I would describe Bethesda's games recently as popcorn. Like, you can enjoy it. You pop it in. You just can't really think about what you're consuming too much, and you'll be fine. But if you consume too much of it all at once, you'll still be hungry, even though you've been eating for 50 hours, and you're like, I didn't really get much from this. Like, I was busy the whole time. I had stuff to do, but I'm not satiated, you play KCD and you're like, I am satisfied. Where I haven't felt that with Bethesda in a bit, Combat is kind of jank, my only complaint, which is fair. I think the first game especially, combat is janky, for sure, absolutely. Second game got way better. Way better. Takes a little getting used to, but once you do, you can get into it. So I would not consider Warhorse to be their competition. I don't think they consider themselves competition. I think the framing, though, for Bethesda is going to be constantly compared, probably between CDPR and even Larian to a lesser extent with the RPG side of things. But it's going to come down to how they sell Elder Scrolls 6. Because if they sell it as an open world RPG, which is what they've historically done with Elder Scrolls, then they put themselves in the same bucket as The Witcher, as Larian's games like Baldur's Gate and Divinity. And that is going to be a competition that you're going to struggle to win, because those are phenomenal games. And do we really think Elder Scrolls 6 is going to have like choice and consequence like Baldur's Gate, or writing and cinematic quality on the level of The Witcher? Like, probably not. So I think it's going to come down to how they sell it and how they pitch it. Starfield was lucky because there's not a lot of mainstream games on the same level that are trying to do the same thing. It was quite unique in what it was trying to do. Even like No Man's Sky, it's a very different kind of game than Starfield. Like, yeah, you can compare the space exploration stuff, but like, it's very different. But as far as fantasy open world adventure games go, there's a lot of competition that can be brought up. Crimson Desert's better counter. Yeah, I think a lot of comparisons will be drawn between the two. Absolutely. So it's going to come down to how they frame it. But I wouldn't describe probably Warhorse as competition. Probably more like CDPR. Pearl Abyss, I think, is with Crimson Desert a good comparison, and even Larian. If they try to frame it as an RPG, you are going up against the king, and if you go up against the king, you got to knock him out. That's the thing. 10, I think Todd himself is their biggest roadblock. The fact that he has to approve everything in the game and he's not always around means things can get clogged and backed up. Well, to be clear, the interviews and stuff recently from former Bethesda employees has shown that Todd does not want to be the bottleneck. He has tried to promote and elevate other people into game director positions, or like game like questing director or narrative director positions, where they can give the thumbs up and he doesn't have to see everything. So for like Starfield, he was way less involved than he was with Fallout 4. And the expectation is that he's way less involved with Elder Scrolls 6 than he was certainly with even like Fallout 4, and probably way less involved than even Starfield. Because bear in mind, for most of Starfield's production, Todd was still in the studio. They weren't doing TV shows. They weren't trying spin-off stuff. He wasn't an executive producer on Indiana Jones. Like, Todd was a lot less busy during Starfield. He's a lot more busy now. I think he's probably even less involved than he was with Starfield. So, and as I've said before, I've defended Todd on this point. Todd, the data we have is that when he is more involved, the game is better. When he's less involved, the game is worse. There's a correlation to his involvement. And as he's gotten less involved in game development and in what they do in the studio, the game's quality seems, in my opinion, to have dropped, which is, that makes me worried about Elder Scrolls 6, because it seems like the big decision makers within Bethesda are probably going to be like Emil. Like, I think Emil Pagliarulo is probably going to end up doing most of the direction with Elder Scrolls 6 because he's in the studio, whereas Todd is, I think, juggling a lot more. So, make of that what you will. But it seems that that's the thing, is that Todd's been trying to get out of the way, but that means that the people around him are now making those decisions. And I think a lot of people's frustration is that the people making those decisions now are not the people that they would like to be making the decisions, which is a whole separate issue.